Hola, yo soy Axel Bautista.
Hi, I'm Alex Garner.
And this is Ep2's American Beauty Podcast. In this episode, queer, joto, and proud, we're gonna talk about the power of words and language and how it can serve to empower us as individuals, but also as communities. It's gonna be a journey, va a ser una travesía a través de las fronteras del lenguaje, across the borders of language, and the pride that is behind reclaiming the insult. Para empezar, let's talk to Roybal, who is a Chicano, queer, and activist, and he's gonna talk to us about what it means to be queer, and what it means to be proud of your identity, and about who you are.
I'm Russell Roybal. I grew up in Los Angeles County in a place called La Puente, although right now I live in San Diego, and I have been an activist probably my whole life, but certainly in all my adult life. I identify as a male-bodied, non-binary, queer femme, which is a journey to get to that place. I grew up a good Catholic Chicano in Eastern LA County, and I don't know if it's 6th or 7th generation. So my family never immigrated. They became Americans when the United States annexed the Southwest. My family is from New Mexico, and so I always tell people we didn't cross the border crossed us. We became Americans because the United States, the imperialist policies of the United States, annexed the entire Southwest. And so the part of Mexico my family is from is now the U.S. Well, I identify as queer and Chicano or Chicanx or even Chicana, because to me they are political statements. They're much more than just about my ethnicity or my race or my sexual orientation or even gender. Like, they are, to me, my foundational political principles are wrapped up. The way I view the world is through this queer, non-binary Chicano lens, because it is the sum of my experiences. So to me, they're much more than just identifiers. Like I check a box off on a form. They are really about my political ideology and how I see the world. I don't feel in between. I don't feel gender neutral. I feel gender full. Like that I have the capacity to have a very gender-full life, and that, like, even I'm wearing a conference badge and I was putting my pronouns in, and even on my email signature it says he, they, she, because I use all of those things interchangeably. I think what people who don't like queer people or who are in opposition to us, what they don't realize is the truth I think that we know, which is that our queerness is a gift. It is not something to be ashamed of. There's nothing wrong with us. But for a lot of queer people, they're not there yet, right? It is a journey to get there. And I think for me, I know I'm my most powerful when I am the most queer I can be. And to me, that is a political statement.
I think it's easy for us to forget the political power of language. And we've gotten so caught up in these political fights about pronouns and all of those things that it's usually defensive, and we're not as well prepared to behave on the offense about the language that we use. And so queer, joto, Chicano, all of these words have political power and meaning, and not enough of us sees the opportunity to utilize it.
Something that I like from what Russell is saying is that people think that this is just like sometimes that this is just like a game, like I mean, he doesn't say that exactly, but it's like people think that today I just want to be named like that, or this is just something that I just invented myself for today, but I think he says something like, this is like a political statement. This is because I'm putting myself and I put my identity and everything that I am in the first place, because people has always tried to put us or to put me in, I don't know, like a side or like in the periphery or whatever, and this is like, even from those places, I'm important and this is what I want to do. And I'm gonna show it, how do you say, like, brag it out or like presumirlo a todo el mundo?
I mean, this is the political power of even coming out of the closet. That every queer person has that power built into our experience. And I think, unfortunately, not enough people claim it. People are still afraid of it. People are still uncomfortable. And heterosexuals most of them don't even grasp the idea of, when you use a word to describe yourself as queer or trans or sidoso or chicano, it means something. There's significance to it. We've thought about it. And most people who go through their lives never ever have to think about it.
I have fought really hard to get to where I am, and I am going to be who I am no matter where I am. Whether I'm on a stage at a political event, I'm at my job, I am at a conference, I'm on a cruise. I want to live my most authentic life all the time. And I feel like that has not always been the case. And I don't want to go back there. I want to be who I am 100% of the time. I saw somebody in a skirt today, and I don't know how they identify in terms of their gender, but there's a trend. So I often go to parties, circuit parties, and I certainly identify as a circuit queen. And I have been wearing skirts to parties for decades. And it's so refreshing now to see people play with gender, right? And seeing that here today, warmed my little queer heart. But even seeing it on the dance floor, seeing people who probably identify as men or maybe have identified as men, but have this expansive notion of what their gender is, and that will wear a skirt, will wear a leotard, will wear a big hat, will wear makeup, will paint their nails. To me, that is it is so refreshing to see that and to see people really experiment with that. And you can see how people, they're finally able to express themselves in a way that growing up probably they couldn't. Our queerness is our superpower, right? It is the well from which we draw the resiliency to live our lives in a society that doesn't want us, right? That does not consider us equal, that wishes we would go away in many places, and that in some cases tries to murder us, right? I'm on the board of Outright International, and we do work all around the globe, and people, fear for their lives. And even here in the US, they're often in queer neighborhoods, there are bashings or killings. And, I think all of us as queer people in the back of our head think about our safety all the time. Should I reach out to touch my partner's hand? Should I be affectionate? Should I wear a skirt or a hat, right? Or make myself even more visible? Because I think all of us sometimes feel am I going to get called a name? Am I going to get beat up? Am I going to be murdered? That is a real thing.
I believe that orgullo, pride, wouldn't exist in a society that were completely inclusive. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. Sometimes many people argue about why are you proud of being gay, or why are you proud of being HIV positive, or and I think proud is just about because you it's not about like surviving, but it's also about like celebrating who you are in a society that, as Rosalie is saying, it's always discriminating and a lot of bigotry against us. So in an utopia, when those things, I mean, homophobia, transphobia, racism wouldn't exist, which I don't think is something gonna happen very soon, probably that would be a hypothetical situation in which pride is not necessarily...
Pride is a result of struggle. We're proud of the struggle that we've endured, and that's where the pride comes from. And even in the US, there's always this notion, maybe not even in the US, often in the US, there's this belief that Mexicans, for example, can't be too proud of being Mexican, and people still complain if they see someone waving a Mexican flag in the US, because to them, they think you're not American enough. But they're misunderstanding the pride that someone might have for waving that flag. And to be queer and brown in the US, and to clearly represent those things at a time when queer people and brown people are more and more criminalized or stigmatized, that has power. That makes a difference.
Hello, I'm one of the 3 brown Jotos. My name is Charlie Delira Cepeda. I was born and raised in East LA. I grew up going to public school. I don't know. Like,
which one? What the fuck?
Well, see, I'm a product of public school.
Okay.
And so I work in the public health sector. So I've been working in HIV for 19 years.
Well, what's up, everyone? My name is Joaquín. Joaquín Gutierrez. Born and raised in Los Angeles, South Central LA. Padres mexicanos de Jalisco. And yeah, I mean, I've been working in HIV for the last 15 plus years. I also host nightlife events. I have a queer nightlife collective called Noches de Ep2, which consists of brown, Latine DJs, drag performers, live musicians, singers, anything that has to do with entertainment and just like, you know, being on stage. That's what we love to do.
Yo soy Alejandro Chavez. I born in LA, raised in the Pasadena area. Tengo 43 años, familia mexicana de Michoacán. I also work in public health. I work in Ultimate Health Services. And I'm friends with these 2 Jotas right here. And we have an awesome podcast together. Los tres brown Jotos.
I mean, I think I can answer for both of them that they're really gay.
No,
like,
bitch.
super,
No.
No? Okay, you know, Joto.
No.
Maricón.
Well, first of all, I identify as Chicano, Latino, but I like to say I'm queer, because I feel like that's an umbrella term. Because sometimes when I say I'm pansexual, people are like, "What the fuck is that? You like pancakes?" You know. But well, no, not really.
No?
I didn't grow up with pancakes.
That's so waffles.
No, chilaquiles.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I didn't have pancakes until
Sorry,
later.
Chicano. Go Chicano.
No, but yeah, I both me and my husband identify as pansexual. But to make it easier, I like to identify as queer.
Well, for me, I think it's a really hard question always to answer, right? Like, ¿cómo te identificas as far as, like, you know, ethnicity, whatever? I always say Mexicano over anything, just because that's what I found more orgullo and more connection to in my cultura. So, Mexicano de Estados Unidos. And then queer, I think I agree with Charlie. Queer is an umbrella term, right? For a while, it was, like, gay, but then gay feels so limiting, too. Like, right? And, like, you have to feel, like, this certain, like, thing. Pero también pues me vale madre, like joto, maricón, like, a todo le entro.
I also identify as queer, joto, mexicano. I think joto over queer for me, just because I identify more with my brownness than I do queer. But I think queer is a just general umbrella term.
Yeah, using brown is because that's we're all three are Mexican, so we kind of wanted to use that. But I get it all the time, like, you're not brown, and it's like, I understand, but my experience with my parents are darker than me, and so me growing up seeing my dad, people not thinking he's my dad and being treated different, that always in the back of my head. And so for me, I identify as brown. Everyone says I'm güerito, and even these fuckers make fun of me. But that's...
I don't make fun of your friend because that's not problematic. I just state
Facts.
statements.
She says facts are facts.
But it's radio, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
No, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Do not push colors on people.
No, but it's real. And we went to a retreat once, and was it Gustavo also said, like, him being a pale Latino is treated different, you know, because somehow I'm not brown enough or Mexican enough, but then I'm not American enough.
Well, and that's the ironic thing. So, like, if the U.S. government were to start raiding East LA like they did in the 30s and rounding people up and putting them on trains, they're not going to check your skin color, right? They're just going to round up what they see as Mexicans or what they hear as Mexicans. And so at the end of the day, the government with power, all they see are three Mexicans.
For my personal experience, maybe I've just become so much more comfortable in my brown queerness that lo que piense la gente no me molesta, ya no me importa. It doesn't matter to me. I want to live my authentic queer brown life. Yeah. And so for me, I feel like it has gotten easier in the sense of because I feel the power in it.
I think a good way to have, like, to sort of empower yourself with this pride is about, I mean, as you were saying before, like, the using of language, the reivindication of some specific insults and words that have been used for insulting you, for making you feel bad or dirty or ugly or pervert or whatever, but you use those words as something to be proud of, and to sort of create your own narrative about who you are.
Often, language is not just about saying I'm not this thing, but it's an affirmation of the thing that we are. So to say that you're queer or Chicano or Joto, the words themselves serve as an affirmation of who you are. And a signal that if someone wants to use that word to denigrate me, it's not going to work.
I think words have power. I am more comfortable using descriptors that I think express the fullness of who I am. So I don't want to just be put into a box. Now, I may be male presenting, I may be male bodied, but that does not all that I am. Words can mean different things, but in many ways, words have power. And so many of the words that are in our community in particular have been used against us. Like, there are so many words for faggot in Spanish.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm sure I don't even know a tenth of them. But those words are used to demean and to demoralize us as people. And so when we reclaim them, like, there is so much power in that. So much power. Like, I was at a party and this guy had a hat on that said Joto.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want one of those.
Yes.
Right? Or like a shirt that says maricon, right? Like,
He has one.
right? Like, that, there is, like, to take the negative power out of that and to really use it in a way to be like, yeah, fuck you. I'm here. I'm a maricon. I'm proud of it. Right? I'm proud to be a joto or whatever.
Mi nombre es Armando Ibáñez. Soy mexicano de Acapulco, Guerrero. Llegué a este país, a Estados Unidos, cuando tenía 18 años. Migramos acá como migrantes indocumentados y he estado viviendo aquí por más de 23 años. ¿Sabes? La palabra joto, obviamente yo experimenté, o la palabra joto yo la relacionaba con violencia, porque en México la palabra jotos la usaban, o no sé si todavía la usan de una forma muy despectiva. Creo que sí todavía la usan, porque me he encontrado en diferentes instancias donde las personas se sienten incómodas conmigo refiriéndome hacia mí, como yo mismo refiriéndome a mí como joto. Y yo conocí esa palabra de una forma muy despectiva y discriminatoria en México. Entonces de repente entro al mundo activista donde todos se identifican como jotos y jotas. Y yo primero pues asustado, ¿no? Pero después veo y entiendo el poder que tiene reclamar esas palabras que han sido usadas para aplastarnos, ¿sabes? Para humillarnos, para discriminarnos, para hacernos sentir como que somos menos que un ser humano. Y encuentro el significado de lo que es el reclamo y el decir, yo puedo usar esa palabra. Yo puedo usarla, yo puedo hacer con esa palabra lo que yo quiera. Y soy joto, soy jotísimo. Y uso eso mucho, lo he normalizado en mí. Me encuentro de repente instancias donde hay personas que no se sienten incómodas o me preguntan por qué. En inglés me dicen, why do you have to put yourself down? Hay veces que me he referido a mí mismo como joto o wetback, espalda mojada. Fag, muchos de mis amistades usan fag. Creo que esa palabra tiene un poquito más de impacto todavía, en cuanto a que la gente todavía no se siente a gusto con la palabra de la comunidad o no de la comunidad, porque yo entre mis amistades, o sea, reclamamos la palabra en WhatsApp, fag, y like, oh, this fag, y usamos eso igual de la misma manera como usamos joto. Reclamamos la palabra, la usamos entre nosotros, entre amigos, pero nos encontramos con momentos donde hay ciertas personas que se sienten incómodas con la palabra.
Well, when we were looking for the names for the podcast, we were up and down con un chingo de nombres. And then we talked about jotos, and we talked about the historical content, right? Like going back to the jail systems where they were putting the queer people in the J cell, right? La
Jota.
Yeah, el cuarto joto, you know, de la jota. And so I think we took that word and for me at least, being teased, right, and being called a joto as a little kid, kind of now that I'm so proud of just being gay and queer, joto is like a stamp, is a badge of honor now for me. I think that we take the power out of words if and when we want to.
For me, you know, I think, you know, queer folks' existence is a radical itself, right? It's very controversial because we should just be able to exist and be without having to feel that it's this radical movement. But, you know, what happened in Mexico currently to Ociel is a definite, you know, example on how we as queer people navigate our journeys with this target on our back, right? And I think a lot of the things that I do, it's like a statement to be like, no, fuck that. Like, I know that this is real, but I'm still gonna walk in my truth. I'm still gonna walk in my essence and be like, because, you know, I think a lot of it comes, I don't know about y'all, but from being young and like maybe growing up in these comunidades where we didn't see that, right? Where we didn't see someone who was proud and queer and like embracing themselves, or maybe we saw it, but we saw the negativity they faced.
I think that's what it was a lot more. We saw more the negativity side of it versus like, we wanted to make it like, fuck that, like, the fuck you to everyone.
We're jotos,
we're the jotos, like, somos los tres jotos. No somos los únicos jotos, pero somos tres.
Yeah. And it could have been like, in English, right? It could have been like the three brown gay guys, or like, but I think in Espanol is what resonates, because that's a direct putazo to our cultura, right? To be like, no, like, in the midst of the machismo, in the midst of the misogyny, in the midst of like, in everything, right? Like in la ropa, in la música, like everything that feeds into that, like, we're like, yeah, that's part of our culture, but here it goes with the little jodido essence to it, right? We're like, we love dancing to banda, like, but it's gonna be two men dancing to banda, so like at las pinches fiestas, you know, in the middle of the rancho, you know, so, and it's not even like something that's radical that hasn't been done, because there's been brown, queer, Latina folks who've been doing it forever, who have been existing and thriving. We're just telling our journey. Like, it was important for us to tell it from, like, our lens.
Yeah, I like our name too because it does, like, it's a shock factor as well. I remember our first event when we printed the big posters with our faces and three brown jotos. But three brown jotos is in Old English, so it's kind of, if you're not familiar, it's kind of hard to read. And I remember I was picking up the posters, and there was this lady there, and she saw us. I was the only one. She's like, "Is that you on the poster?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "What does it say?" And I said, Three Brown Jotos Podcast. And she started laughing. She thought it was a joke, and so I'm like, "What's funny?" She's like, "Oh, the Jotos part." I'm like, "Yeah, like, I'm a Joto." Like, and she just shut up. And it's, I kind of like that because it's not meant to be funny. Like, this is our lives. This is who we are. And I think that's why us using Joto is like we're taking the power back. And we wear, like, who said it? We wear it with a badge of honor.
While language is important, pride ultimately is about visibility, right? When they're talking about seeing people in our lives who are openly queer but only seeing the negative part, part of pride is changing that narrative so that it's not just this tragic, sad, oppressed existence, but to be proud of the struggle, to be proud of who you are, how you represent yourself, the community around you. That's why being proudful or prideful matters, because it increases the visibility. Even if it's only one person marching down the street holding a rainbow flag, that's still going to impact the visibility of queer people. And then when you have 1 million people doing it, it's a different type of demonstration, but all of them are demonstrations of visibility and a reminder that visibility still matters.
I don't remember a day growing up that I didn't get called a fag. Like, I cannot remember a single day in from when I was very young, like in elementary school through junior high school, even college, where I didn't get called a fag or I didn't get made fun of because of the way I walked or the way I talked. My voice has always been like this. And I think there are some of us who don't have the luxury of hiding. And so we become targets. But I think that experience, like, I don't like the whole, like, it gets better. Like, oh, like, when you tell people it's going to get better. Maybe. Right? But, like, that we should not have to wait for it to get better. That we should be trying to create a world where we don't have to say that. And that people can be whoever it is they are.
Well, I think we're coming to the very end of this episode. Queer, Joto, and Proud. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a nuestros increíbles invitados, Armando, Russell, and the three brown Jotos, Joaquín, Alejandro y Charlie. Muchísimas gracias por haber estado en este episodio y por compartirnos sus historias.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Join us each week for our American Beauty podcast. Gracias.
Adiós.
Bye.